Coming very good at listening to screen things at the same time. Here the conversation. The same time.
Welcome to you all to the Mission of Norway. We are so pleased to host this event. The Out of an Hour initiative, important. It's supported by us and implemented by the Statistical of the Region in Data. So I'm just going to give the floor over to the. Yes, instead. I don't know. Yes. And please help yourself. I know it's complicated when you sit like this, but whenever you want, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Udi. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today?
Very good.
Are you all doing good? Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome. My name is Lina Komboka. I am the Senior Manager for the Data for Now initiative at the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data, also known as GPSDD. With us today, you can see we have all our partners here represented. The Data for Now initiative was launched in 2019 by the Deputy Secretary General, Dr. Amina Mohammed. And the idea is really to work with countries to give them capacity to access the data that they need to be able to answer the critical questions that they have, data for now, and to be able to develop the policies that are actually needed to be able to do that, right? So we have different initiatives that go towards that work towards supporting this. And these are initiatives around partnerships with private sector, partnerships with academia. We have capacity development initiatives that work in training, in peer exchanges, in knowledge exchanges. And if you hang around long enough, you realize that the countries are friends, the countries that are represented here, because they have been in situations where they've had to share information, they've had to share experiences, and with that, we make the world a better place with data. So please allow me to start off with our host, Norway, to give their opening remarks.
Okay.
Yeah, very sorry about that. Then in that case, let's go to Stefan. And please hold your mics up because they.
Okay.
Yeah.
I normally don't have difficulties to make myself heard. People don't know me. No, thank you very much, first, Madame Rambol from the Norwegian mission for hosting us here in this beautiful place and feeding us on top of it. And welcome to everybody. I mean, Data for Now is really a fantastic program. And we started on Saturday morning. There was a whole group of countries enthusiastically working in my office the whole morning, and there was a dedicated group of countries, and I was very happy to see that. I was joking that when we started this project, we should have perhaps called it Data Right Now, because all of our users want information this very minute, and then we, the data producers and statisticians, we are always in this careful dance. But I think Data for Now found exactly that magic formula. Why is it working? That secret magic formula. It has the users on board. We're listening to the users. We are trying innovative things so that we have partners in areas that we didn't work before with, like non-traditional data source providers. And we work always in partnerships all together. So I think that's the really secret formula. And I was thinking, just when we had this long discussion on Friday on data governance, this is the solution. The countries that are working on Data for Now, they are the pioneers. They are really the model, and for others, how we can build national, I don't even call it statistical, but data or information architectures, because it's really very broad, including geoinformation. And the last point I wanted to say, the other secret formula of the successful endeavor is that we recognize we are all in this together. And we have our donors, we have Italy, Norway, the UK, thank you very much. We have our partners, they are sitting here with me around the table. And of course, we have our project countries, we have you, and we have to thank you for your commitment. And the only thing I can say is our door is always open. Anybody wants to join us, at any of the aforementioned levels, donors who want to throw money at us, partners who want to help us to do the heavy lifting, and countries that want to work with us. We always have an open door. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stefan. And that was the director for the UN Statistics Division, UNSC-DESA. And now we move on to Faustine, who's the Deputy Assistant Administrator and Deputy Director in the Bureau of Policy, the Bureau for Policy and Program Support at UNDP.
Thank you very much. It's a long title and I can't really say, but thank you so much. It's really great to be here with you all today. UNDP is a relatively new partner to this group, this coalition, and we're really happy to be here. Really like to recognize the leadership from Norway in convening us today, as well as the work of other co-leads, so the UN Statistics Division, the World Bank Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and the Global Partnership, as well as our national partners and delegates. These data partnerships are really critical. We know the importance of data, and yet we have data only for 140 of the 169 targets, but it's critical, not just the volume of data, but the quality of data to inform the way decisions are made to make transformational change. So for that reason, we're really glad to be part of this important partnership. 3 points I think I want to just leave with you today. The first is that it's really important to connect these discussions with the national context and with statistics bureaus, but way beyond statistics bureaus to other parts of government, so finance, planning, environment, energy, as well as other wider stakeholder groups. That's the first point. The second point is it's really important that we engage, obviously, with new technologies such as AI, and that we support national partners in really being able to have the capacity to harness these new technologies to advance their work around data. And then the third point I just wanted to make is that, you know, at UNDP, we really try hard to work with national partners to help them ensure that data is connected with different parts of government and decisions are made. So we worked on these 90 SDG Insights reports last year in the lead up to the SDG Summit with partners identifying future pathways to achieve the SDGs. And we've got this Data Futures exchange platform, which is using all open source data to help countries make informed decisions using data across different sectors. So anybody can access that. So let's make sure that we have the right people around the table in these discussions, including national partners. Thank you so much.
Now we move on to Gerald Caleto, who is the Senior Manager Development Data Group at the World Bank.
Okay, just perhaps, yes, I will, probably I will not need it, unless so, but, and I'm stressing out here because it is a sign timeout, so I think I'm already over time, but no, very quickly on just a small comment on the use of private data and access to private data. Of course, we are one of the 5 enthusiastic partners in this initiative, and we are hoping for kind of an expansion, like we just whether in terms of donors, in terms of partners, but. Just a couple of words on the private data part, because I think there offers a huge potential. I mean, just today, I mean, the world produces more than 300 million terabytes of data. Only a very minor portion are being produced in the public space. So the majority is private data. So the question is like, how do we access it? How do we access it in an equitable manner? Like we just, and how we support countries to access those data. And I just want to spend my last 30 seconds like focus on one initiative at the bank, which we brought in under the Data for Now, so that we're working together with partners, which is called the Development Data Partnership, where we are rallying more than 30 data providers, which are the Googles, the LinkedIn, and the Meta of this world, and 11 international organizations, and in order to facilitate the access and use of private data. So we kind of standardize agreements with those, because access, access and privacy is one of the main challenges that we need to solve. So we're trying to kind of engage more systematically with private companies in offering data for public use. But in addition to that, because the data is just one of the inputs, we are developing, we are co-developing what we call a global goods, like a lot of reproducible tools and methods for countries to use in facilitating the use of private data. So what the Data for Now can do, what the Data for Now is doing, is like a facilitated awareness about the availability of these tools, facilitating a negotiation with the private companies in access to those tools. But I just want to close with one point that I like to make. So we tend to think of private, and it was raised yesterday in the discussion at the power of data, which is we tend to think of private providers, private sector private sector as the provider of data. They're also buyers. They're actually the one with the money. So, but we need to offer something that it's valuable to them. And I think to think of once again of incentives on how we engage with the private sector both ways. I think it's the job that we have for the Data for Now moving forward. Thank you. And apologies for the extra.
And up next, we have Pierre Melange, who is the CEO of the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development.
Okay, I'm feeling also intimidated by being Marielle's eyeliner. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's really exciting to be here, actually, and see kind of newer friends of Data for Now, like UNDP, and also to see in the room people like Omar Saidu from GSS, who was one of the kind of early originators of Data for Now, working with us on developing the initiative from the earliest days. So this feels like a great coming together. I think, for us in the global partnership, Data for Now was, I think, for all of us, responding to a challenge and a frustration, really, that we're seeing all of the opportunities that we know exist out there in the world of new data, new technologies, the ways that data can improve lives, not being used and not being fully integrated into decision making, and a sense that while the problems of the world are growing every day, so are the opportunities. But the opportunities that we have with data and with new technology are outpacing our abilities to use them to solve the many challenges that we have in the world. And I think it was that gap which Data for Now was designed to close. How can we help to reach out to understand what exists out there in the world for us to use, and make sure that we're bringing all of that knowledge, those technologies, those data sources, as Jerry said, within reach of those who need them most, and that they can be used in the places where the problems are the biggest. And that is really the problem that we set out to solve with Data for Now. It was fantastic to be in the room with Stefan and his colleagues over the weekend to really see in practical terms how that is being done and what that looks like, and the kind of enthusiasm and the sort of forensic way that countries are really working together. There were just groups of countries that were all digging into some of the same issues, working together. For us, our, I think, biggest contribution to Data for Now has been very much in the area of capacity building training, developing fellowships, really to expand the possibilities within some of the government departments and institutions that we work with, and make sure that these new opportunities are brought within reach. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Finally, we have Miriam Rabi, who's the head of SDGs Today, acting head of Trends. That is the Sustainable Development Solutions.
Thank you, Lynette. I feel like my time's already up. So I'll keep it short. So I want to stress 2 points about this initiative that's really important to us and the core partners. All the work that we do is country-driven. And the solutions and applications and research that is conducted as part of this initiative is co-designed with the partners. So that's a very important element of this initiative that I wanted to emphasize. And the second point is that over the years, we have mobilized a very diverse network of experts that have been able to work with the countries. And in that context, for SDSN, it's really important to create a link between academia, NSOs, and all the other partners that are involved. So throughout the years and across the different collaborations and countries that we've been involved in, we've always made it a point to make that link between local and international researchers and academics with the work that we have been collaborating on in those countries. So that's the, I would say, the most important component of the work that we try to emphasize through this initiative.
Great, thank you so much. Let me just join me in giving a round of applause to our Data for Now partners, SDSN, UNDP, UNSC, World Bank, and GPSDB. Thank you.
Great, so as we're moving on to the next session, I'll be moderating the next session for the next 30 minutes. So we're going to hear from countries that have been part of the Data for Now initiative, and they will be showcasing how they've been working with partners to find solutions, applications, and apply innovative approaches to fill data gaps for decision making. Before we jump into any of the presentations, we're going to start with a short video. Let's watch that together.
Countries leverage innovative sources, technologies, and methods for improved data to help meet the Sustainable Development Goals. With support from global partners, Senegal and Sierra Leone have modernized their IT architecture, making data collection and analysis faster and better. In Colombia, the National Statistics Office is using satellite imagery to help policy leaders understand why children drop out of school. Bangladesh is adopting geospatial tools to map out and measure poverty more accurately and frequently, while Kyrgyzstan is using geospatial data for urban planning. Ghana is tracking marine litter waste thanks to citizen-generated data, helping to keep its coastlines clean, and Tunisia is working to track migration using mobile data. These are all real-world impact stories of the Data for Now initiative, making data work for everyone. Through this initiative, we are helping countries unlock the power of data, protect people's privacy, and fight for inclusion. Together, we're shaping a sustainable future.
Thank you. I think that's a good introduction to the next segment of this session. I'd like to invite Dr. Haydar Farhat and Dr. Robert Dubois to join me on the stage or at the table. First, we're going to start with a presentation by Dr. Haydar, Director General of the Department of Statistics in Jordan, and he's going to talk about the use of geospatial and statistical information to assess growth of urban areas and accessibility to open public spaces, and also talk about how they've been strengthening their IT architecture to enable the use of different data sources. Over to you.
Thank you, Miriam. So I will, I'm looking at her as well. So. Okay, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm honored to make this modest achievement by Jordan in this area of data for now. I think relying on the classical ways of statistical data and ordinary data, whether it's from the NSOs or the government or the private sector, is not enough anymore. There are now new sources that every morning we wake up and we see new sources and breeds of databases and breeds of streams of data and solutions and innovations built on top of each other. So in Jordan, if someone can flip, yes. In Jordan, this effort of Data for Now coincided with 3 existing government initiatives in Jordan. One of them is the Economic Modernization Program 2023-2033. The other one is the Public Sector Reform Program and Legislative Reform Program. So these, like an open heart surgery for 3 things at the national level, that will allow any injection of new and modern initiatives to the NSO and other places in the government. Please, yeah, can you go to the next, please? Next one. Yeah. So here we focused on 3, because of short time, I just need to concentrate on these 3 SDG goals and targets, 11.7.1, 11.3.1, and a third one will come momentarily. For these targets, we determined the partners of DOS, the NSO of Jordan's called DOS, to produce the data identified and their roles in the production process. We selected the cities that will be covered in this experiment and the stakeholders and technical expertise we got from UN Habitat. And we prepared data, open source and formal ministries initiatives in order to link things together. And we did a training in fact is taking place right now this week by the expert from UN Habitat and in the country office, so in this area. So if you can go, yeah. Now, okay. Now I think there was a missing slide, but it's okay. It's okay given the time. Now, what is our vision? Our vision is to build a national data center, which is happening right now. The vision is this. We have a classical existing data center that caters for the collection and storage of statistical data coming from surveys and censuses and every other classical source. So this we will not tamper with at all. We will build a brand new, totally new data center for that dissemination, visualization, and linkages with new sources of data. Why we did that? Because this is like a world and another world. The best thing is not to let one world encroach on the other, but rather build a balanced kind of technological capability in order to synergize both sides. On the cherry on top of this achievement is we want to create a model base, what we call a model base. A model base, a national model base, where we approach each data producer in the government and the unions and the semi-private sector organizations in order to see what kind of models they use in the analysis of data, in the reshaping of data, visualization of data, cubing of data, all sorts of analysis on data, and put that all in one place. So any analyst, any user of data can come to a centralized place to utilize. If we don't do that, it is like a scattered effort all over the place. It's islands, it is silos. No one knows what the other is doing, which is very problematic. So now we have this technology, which is enlightened by the suggestions and proposals and things discussed under the Data for Now initiative in order to build it in such a national manner. Also, we want to build a user-friendly front-end interface to make data findable, searchable, usable for users. When I say users, it's not only, let's say, government users or ministers, which is the current situation right now, but rather for researchers, students, internal, external, anyone who would like to utilize the data, they will have this one-stop shop for the data, for analysis. For me, I have this philosophy where if you don't do it, someone else will do it on your behalf. So I prefer at the national level as a government person, I want to do it in a proper way, up to the satisfaction of internal and external, so that we will have the proper way of doing it. Can you go next, please? Yes. Now, how this Data for Now program or project is supporting those. First of all, the area of building capacity and the implementation of that data flows. Let me just mention this. We are stock taking all the SDG targets that are not classical, that cannot be measured and calculated from ordinary NSO. Okay, there are many of these targets which, with a tweak of technology, a tweak of AI, a tweak of innovation, it can produce some sort of data either to fill in the target, the SDG target, or to proxy for that target. We proxy until something else better comes and substitutes. So we are working in this direction. As I said, the capacity building, the training, the shared knowledge, the many of the Google Data Commons, Growth Labs, Power BI, many of the tools, techniques, initiatives, models, we are through the Data for Now, we are trying to utilize in order to come out with a stronger tool in the area of generating new breed of data and giving analytical power to it as well. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the work of Jordan and the vision that you have for future endeavors. Dr. Robert Ndukwa is the Chief of Data and Analytics at UN Habitat. Robert, can you tell us about the role of UN Habitat in supporting Jordan on these SDG 11 indicators and your collaboration with the Data for Now initiative?
Thanks a lot, Mariam, and obviously good afternoon to you all, those who have chosen to come here and share your thoughts and time for this specific session. I think first and foremost is just to acknowledge that for UN Habitat, it's been very wonderful working with a lot of partners, national statistical offices, of course, being very key, but also the UN Statistical Division and many other partners in terms of supporting countries as we've had, basically fulfilling the last mile. UN Habitat, we do work on quite a number of indicators, as mentioned today. We support 11.2.1 on transport, 11.3.1 on urban expansions, but also 11.7.1 on open public spaces. These are very much locational indicators, so they require special skills, they require special data sets, skills that you often don't find at the city level or at that local level. So that's why we've sort of come into this partnership to make sure that we're not only building capacities of the national statistical systems, but also the other key partners, the municipalities and other citizens who are very much at the front of contributing a lot of these data sets. So with Jordan, we've worked very well alongside many other countries that we've supported, including Morocco and Palestine. And in this support, what we've done, of course, is to take the wonderful methodologies and processes we've developed to produce data for these indicators, but then positioning that into the hands of the people who are at the local level, who are basically at the forefront of collecting this data on a daily basis. So we built capacities for these countries, as the director noted. Jordan happens to be that the workshop is actually ongoing, even as we discuss here. But Palestine, we've supported them, and Morocco to produce the early steps in terms of producing these indicators on understanding access to transport, but also understanding how the urbanization is growing vis-a-vis the needs in terms of basic requirements for supporting that sort of urbanization, but also the access to open public spaces. The experience has been, of course, a very wonderful one in terms of it's a very practical process. It's an on-job training process, so it requires a lot of skills prior to the sessions, but also hands-on in terms of the steps to produce population grids, matching that, of course, with openly and freely available local data sets, and then moving towards the last step of data production. There's so much you can share in terms of the experiences we've had with the 3 countries. 2 minutes would never be sufficient, but happy to follow up with other conversations for those who are still here with us. Thanks a lot, Mariam.
Thank you both for your presentation and interventions. Given our tight time frame, I'm going to move on to the next segment of the session, which is a panel discussion on citizen data and marine litter. Thank you again. While we're waiting for our panelists to join me, I'm going to introduce Mrs. Jewel Tujawu, Director of Intersectional Network at the Environmental Protection Agency of Ghana, Mr. Omar Saidu, Director of Social Statistics from Ghana Statistical Services, Mr. Paul Lamin, Director of Natural Resources and Governance at the Environmental Protection Agency of Sierra Leone, and Theo Godfaust, Director of Data Science at Statistics Sierra Leone. Thank you all for joining me. All 4 institutions have been leading very innovative work on citizen data and marine litter. So let's start with what was your motivation to work with citizen data? What was the need that you identified and how was it implemented? Let's start with Jewel from the EPA.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. So for Ghana, I'm speaking on behalf of Ghana. So for Ghana, the motivation was for us to report on the SDGs. As you all know, it became difficult for us to report on some of the indicators. And so it became important for us to do that and also to explore opportunities of filling the data gap. And so as a country, and as they have already shared, we sat down, Ghana Statistical Service and its partners. They came together and they set the priorities for which they wanted to look into. And one of the areas that they thought they could look at was marine litter, reporting on SDG 14.1.1b. And so after we set the priorities, our lack was that we had CSOs in the country that were already collecting and compiling marine litter data as part of the beach cleanup. And these CSOs were reporting to the Ocean Conservancy, that is the TIDES platform. And so we thought that it would be useful for us to look into the data that they were compiling and whether we could use it. Thankfully, around that time too, UNEP had developed a methodology on citizen science using marine litter data, and it had been approved for use by countries, and we felt that it was important for us to look at that and also look at what the CSOs were compiling. And so we held a series of workshops just to mobilize support and also to look at the data that the CSOs had compiled, the methodology, and to find out whether we could harmonize it and report on it. And thankfully, this was done. We had a lot of support from our partners here. We had the CSOs, the academia, ASEAN Trends, UNEP, and all the others being part of the workshop. And we went through a series of computation and data cleaning. And at the end of the day, I'm happy to report that Ghana, we've been able to use the citizen science to report on 2 key areas, the VNR, and also we reported to the global repository. So this is what we have done so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Jewel. Paul, can you share Sierra Leone's experience?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mariam. So the EPA has the mandate to, the Environment Protection Agency Sierra Leone has the mandate to
support from formulation of policies, through, providing evidence and also performing enforcement actions. And also, we are focal point for several multilateral environmental agreements. Then we have obligations to those conventions in terms of reporting. So when the declaration on the 5.2 declaration, UNIA declaration on plastic pollution, was adopted, and then so it came at a point when Sierra Leone didn't have any single data set to be able to move on with the implementation of some of those elements of the declaration. So we thought it fit. We needed to at least develop a database, and doing that, you need resources, and also some areas on our coastline, for the marine litter plastic assessment, they are hard to reach. So you just have to involve citizens or communities in collecting the data. Thankfully, I want to recognize the support from NORAD, that we got to Gridarenda in our first assessment on marine litter in Sierra Leone. So that has been so important because I don't remember once EP or maybe Sierra Leone reporting on some of these SDG that we have now started reporting on. So that is our experience, and we needed it because everything we do, we have the responsibility to develop the state of the environment report, and that assessment needs a lot of data. And given the nature of our country, we need, we cannot rely on support coming from outside. We need partnerships. We need also to leverage on what others CSO NGOs are already doing. So that was actually the need, getting to involve citizens in our data collection drive.
Omar, can you tell us about how the two countries are learning from each other's experience and how their data initiative is supporting that work?
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, so after Ghana developed our first set of indicators based on the marine litter, we got some support from Data for Down to develop a feasibility report on how we can institutionalize this across the entire coastline of Ghana, where we are looking at leveraging AI, drone data, and citizen science to map up the coastline to prepare density maps to identify areas, hotspots for marine litter, and then to help the CSOs who are regularly doing this kind of cleanup. Secondly, the partnership supported us to share our experiences with our colleagues from Sierra Leone, which has been an important step in getting our CSOs, even in Ghana, to be very much interested in appreciating the fact that the work they have been doing, the data compilation for them is a byproduct. Now they see this data compilation feeding into some national processes. And so that has been quite an instructive learning.
And Theo, maybe you can touch on the IT architecture that you're working on to be able to support this work.
Thank you very much. This is a very long journey that we have come from, eventually to have a robust IT infrastructure that can support Statistics Sierra Leone and other government ministry. Statistics being the government body mandated by law to support all ministry and then to collect data is something that is very, very challenging if you do not have the right infrastructure to support other ministry. So it was very challenging for us until we met with Data for Now team of experts. And after we have a one-to-one engagement on what they will support us, I always remember the question from one of the experts from Data for Now that we can provide support. And my question was, how will you provide us support? Because basically, we have to establish my own priorities on what we need, because I already know that being the hub of the center around data, working for the Institute of Statistics, it simply means we'll have to promote and see having an enabling environment that we support other government ministries to able to process their data. This was something challenging. On the other hand, how can we have a sustainable system that will not just be implemented within the shortest period of time and then eventually we cannot be able to manage it? So we started building on this solution that is going to be sustainable, identify the gaps, identify the resources that will be able to give us adequate solution to support all government ministry. So eventually we are able to develop a data lake which can provide a robust solution, end-to-end solution, where we can able to establish a protocol that can enable government ministry to upload their data, and this data can be directly pushed to our servers for it to be processed and then for it to be disseminated. It's a very long process, but honestly, it's worth it. And then more importantly, in the area of capacity building for the locals, make the whole entire implementation be something that we can be proud of, because with being the locals, you're able to support your own system, not depending on external support for you to achieve something is very, very key, because these are most of the ways that system can easily get died. So with the help of Data for Now, team of consultants, we are able to achieve a robust data lake infrastructure that we can be able to provide end-to-end solution for all government ministry.
I know we're up on time, but maybe I can squeeze in one last question. If anyone on the panel would like to answer, what are your plans for the future of these efforts?
All right, thank you. So, keeping the with the partnership, with collaboration we're having with Ghana, then internally, we didn't have the idea maybe to create partnerships, but we now understand the value of partnership. And even within country now, with the help of Data from Our project, we have now started collaborating, exchanging ideas, and also technology transfer with the Statistics Sierra Leone, because then there was a different arrangement for reporting to SDG, but now statistics is leading on that. So I see that in the future, maybe Ghana and Sierra Leone will also maybe create, explore opportunities to support other countries in the region. Then maybe in the long term, we have a kind of center of excellence, to support other countries in the region. And continuous communication is also something that I want to emphasize. Maybe every year we can have kind of collaborating in sessions, learning and knowledge exchange. I think those are some of the things I would recommend going forward. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you very much. I want to highlight two data to action use cases that are currently going on based on this work we have done in Ghana, which continue to be an incentive for us to do this work. First and foremost, the Audit Service of Ghana, which is the independent government body that is mandated to audit all government finances and programs. For the second time in the implementation of SDGs, they decided to do a performance audit of government's implementation of the SDGs. And the focus was prevention and reducing solid waste on Ghana's coastal environment. And I had opportunity 3 weeks ago to review their draft report. And the conclusions in the draft report is that the only data that they find in the country that speaks to marine data was the work we did on SDG 1411B. Secondly, they have made a recommendation
that all municipalities along the coast of Ghana would need to adopt one other program that we have implemented using citizens-generated data called the Clean Up Ghana to identify where wastes are and get the municipalities to act where citizens directly contribute. So their recommendation is that all municipalities along the coast of Ghana would need to adopt this. And this report is going to Parliament, and Parliament will have to enforce it. The second thing is they have requested, they have recommended that central government commit resources to help the Ghana Statistical Service and the Environmental Protection Agency to annually produce data on this to identify municipalities that are not compliant. The second area I want to touch on is, as we may all know, Ghana is the first country in Sub-Saharan Africa to sign to a global plastic partnership program in 2019, and that led to the establishment of a National Plastic Action Partnership. As part of this process, Ghana has signed an arrangement with the UK government on the Oceans Country Partnership Program. And because of the work we have done, it has been incorporated in that project for the next 5 years to develop an academic short course in Ghana to ensure that we are able to train people across the West African region on marine litter. And this is an academic program that is going to be starting very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you, everyone. I know we all came together in November in Accra to talk about the marine litter work that is part of the Data for Now initiative. We had a very fruitful discussion as a follow-up on Monday, and I hope that we can continue moving forward with the implementation of these plans. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our last presentation by Mr. Musab Derga, Director of Dissemination and User Relations at UNSC Tunisia. Musab is going to talk about the potential of privately held data and mobile phone data to support Tunisia and gaining insights on internal migration.
Okay. Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the Data for Now project team for giving me this opportunity to spend this enriching week with you and for allowing me to share the Tunisia experience in the project. Today, just the next slide. Okay. Today, I will present why in the NSO Tunisia we have chosen the internal migration indicators and why we've chosen the MPT, the mobile phone data, as a source for them. Then I will expose the process to deal with this data and what the Data for Now initiative is meant to support us for the job. Next, I will present what we are doing now and the next steps. So why internal migration indicators? In fact, these indicators are relevant to many development domains in our country, such as development of detailed spatial demographic projections, development plan, resource allocation, social equity, monitoring of sustainable development goals, SDGs, and response to crises and disasters. Also, these domains are in a direct relation with the Tunisian Development Plan 2023-2025 and the Vision of Tunisia 2035, which is based on 6 axes, and among these axes there is the social equity axis and the regional development one. This leads us to why we have chosen to use MPT, the mobile phone data. Indeed, these data sources offers many advantages in calculating indicators of internal migration, such as its granularity, real-time tracking, large sample sizes, cost effectiveness, anonymized data, and integration with other data sources. But in order to utilize this data optimally, we first need to define the process for its use. This process can be outlined as follows: define objective and scope, identifying stakeholders, assesses data availability and quality, addresses data privacy and security, technical feasibility, and develop solution and applications. To assist us in this process, the Data for Now initiative, in collaboration with its core partner, the GPSDD, enrolled 3 employees from the National Institute of Statistics and 3 others from the National Telecommunication Authority in Tunisia in the combined network operator data, effective and ethical access and use virtual training conducted in October 2023 by an expert from Positium. This training allowed us to acquire an understanding of the technical governance and ethical factors essential for initiating the use of mobile data, understand the practical application of mobile phone data across diverse use cases, develop a roadmap of assessing and efficiently using mobile phone data, and participate in discussions and discussions and understand the diverse perspective of stakeholders group involved. In addition, the initiative through the UNSC founded the participation of 1 person from the UNS and another from the INT in the internal seminar on data science for statistics and transport community. This was to observe the experience of the Road and Transport Authority of Dubai in usage of the mobile phone data in transport statistics. Nonetheless, we still face many challenges, and particularly in our efforts to convince mobile network operators to supply us with the necessary data to fulfill our needs. And following that, in the proper and efficient processing of the data we receive to produce reliable and high quality internal innovation indicators. To help us to overcome these challenges, the Data for Now initiative has contracted an international expert for 6 months to support us. Since then, we have established a roadmap that involves discussion with the National Telecommunication Authority to facilitate contact with MNOs, to attend the webinar aimed at sharing insights into the international use of MNOs data for statistical purposes, compliance with the regulatory frameworks and the specific needs of such data in understanding internal migration patterns within the country. This webinar will enable us to encourage MNOs to join the upcoming in-person workshop in April itself, which focuses on operationalizing the use of MNOs data for migration data statistics. The aim of this workshop is that by its conclusion, we can establish a draft of memorandum of understanding with MNOs for the implementation of the project. But meanwhile, with the Data for Now team, we are now examining our existing IT infrastructure and exploring ways to enhance it to accommodate with the MPD, given its specific characteristics. We are also considering the prospect of establishing automated data reception channels with MNOs after reaching an agreement, let's hope. Exploring the potential benefit this could offer. Next, assuming the successful outcome with MNOs, we move forward with implementing the MOU and initiating data analysis to compute the desired indicators for this project. And thank you.
Thank you, Hassan. I'm going to close this segment of the event and hand it over to my colleague Laurel to moderate the Q&A.
Thank you. Colleagues, we don't have much time, but I think it would be great to get a round of questions. We can try to answer some of them by the panelists now, and then maybe we can take a minute after the session closes for any engagement. One of the things that I found really compelling about what we've heard, and I think is a connector of everyone in this room, is that we know how difficult this is. And Claire called this yesterday in a meeting with the DSG, a little bit joking, not entirely unglamorous. And yet it's so essential and quite exciting to see the progress that colleagues are making in different contexts, often against the odds, and often without the budget we need to do it. So within that spirit, I think this space of learning and questions is really essential. So if you put your hand up, I'll come over to you. Yes, please. Oh, thank you. I'll take a round of questions first, and then we'll come back to some of the panelists.
Thank you very much. This is Hemraj from National Statistics Office of Nepal. Thank you very much, all the presenters, panelists, for providing the idea about the Data for Now initiatives, particularly on 3 themes that I understood, if I understood correctly: the geospatial data, use of geospatial data The second one was the citizen-generated data, and the third one was the mobile phone data. The use of these three initiatives for this data for now initiative. Just my query is that are there any other initiatives as well, or these are just three the examples of many among other initiatives of this data for now initiative? I want to share a little bit about the citizen-generated data, some positive as well as negative aspects on the citizen-generated data. We tried from the NSO particularly on two aspects. One was the domestic violence. That turned out to be perfect. Very good results were obtained on that domestic violence data generated from the citizens. On the other side, we tried it also on the disaster as well, reporting on the disaster, and then it turned out to the rust data, no? Because there was too much exaggeration by the citizens, maybe hoping that they will receive some relief materials once the disasters are hit. Are there any intakes from the experts on this idea? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take a few and we'll come back. I'll come back and see if you want to comment on that. Anyone else? In the back? Two in the back. Oh, one.
Thanks. Just wanted to know if some of the panelists could also speak to some more to any kind of governance challenges that they encountered during, especially kind of combining the work with the CSOs. This kind of goes to the previous gentleman's question as well, about, again, working with non-traditional data sources and non-traditional partners, perhaps, for NSOs, and if there's anything in the governance framework that they were operating in that had to be adjusted or that had to be dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you. One more at the front.
Thank you. I just want to say how impressed I was by all the 4 examples. They're really incredible work that's been done, including collecting data in whole new areas like marine litter. I was really, really impressed. Going back to the previous comments, my question is, when you're using citizens to collect data for you, are you, I mean, there's one, it could be the challenges around that, but are you also seeing benefits in terms of strengthening trust between citizens and government? That was one of the questions I had. And then to Jordan, also really exciting work. And when you're setting up this data center, which is focused on looking at the interlinkages between different data types, what are the specific challenges that you face in looking at that, taking those integrated approaches?
Thanks, Francine. Anyone else? One more. Yeah, thank you for the panelist presentation. So I have a question about some organizational positive changes that this initiative might have brought inside the organization, because there are good new products based on new AI or new technology and new data sources. And I wonder if this has made some sustainable change in the mindset of people in the different parts of organizations who are not working on these new innovations, because changing IT device or server, that's the easiest part to change, but changing people's mind and the culture of the organization, that is the most difficult and most challenging part. And I wonder if this created some kind of stimulate more a conversation about, oh, we need to do this, we need to change, we are more open to innovation and so on. Thank you. So we had some questions around trust between citizens and governments, but also more broadly, has the work that was explored, does it contribute to cultural shifts, mindset shifts, etc.? Some questions specifically around pros and cons, concerns and otherwise for mobile phone data particularly, and then some questions around integration of new data sets, new data sources, opportunities, challenges. Those seem like the 3 main buckets, and maybe without calling out, would any one of our panelists want to react to that? And maybe we give you 45 seconds or so. Okay.
I will answer the question related to Jordan's experience in building the National Data Center. I want you to look at this baby National Data Center as an octopus with so many arms. Having the octopus, building the technology, this is the easy part. Technology is there, the vendors are there, the frameworks are there. The challenge comes when you want to reach out to data producers. Then you have challenges of skepticism, silo mentality and so on. But the good thing is that once you start approaching them in a skillful manner, in a proper manner, then there will be a lot of misunderstanding and misconceptions. So when you just analyze, we just explain that your data is secured, no one is encroaching on your data, you are encouraged to produce more and more, whether you are a citizen or an organization or private sector or public sector, then things will roll out very nicely. Now, the tools to deal with these challenges is that we just don't talk it out, but we strike deals, memorandum of understandings with these organizations. The MOU will have, let's say, a governance level, it will have a technology level, API level, and so on. So in that way, everyone will be happy, feeling comfortable that this exchange of data is framed and logical and to the satisfaction of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Deals and maybe octopus are the two things I'd take. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I just want to give my perspective on the benefits for the citizen science data. So normally you put structures in place, and what we learned from Ghana, creating partnerships and also valuing their contributions, to not only data collection but also enforcement and also improving environmental management. So these are all of. If you start bringing them on board right at the start, so before you start thinking about formulating public policies and also implementing those policies, so they feel they belong to the process. They are part of the process and they understand the process and they contributed to the process. So those are some of the benefits. And then, like for Sierra Leone, we're trying to scale up, and we cannot scale up if we do not involve these partners. Just a few days ago, we received data that we need to validate, and we observed that a lot of data from civil society organizations. So if you do not create partnership, it will be a burden on one agency to be starting collecting data everywhere. So the benefit is great, they are part of it, and even in the putting management measures in place, they will always support it and they will align themselves with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for reinforcing the collaboration, I think, together with the deals. That's when you start building trust. We are credible, this is sustainable, and so on and so forth. And then you get the scale, which you spoke about. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I think the last one is what has not been spoken about, so I'll pick that one. And it is important and very difficult to get people to change their mindset on things. But what we have realized based on the experiences we have had is being consistent, being deliberate, and keep your eye on the ball. Think big, but start small. And produce some tangibles. And I give an example. When we started the work around citizens, data, TDR, the work the other colleagues are starting using telephone data. Even within the institution, it was very difficult to get leadership of the institution to buy in. But when COVID hit, thankfully the infrastructure, everything had been set up. And within 3 days of the government instituting a lockdown, we were able to produce mobility analysis to support government's interventions on the COVID. And then everybody started saying, hey, let's look at this. Today, we are having the biggest MNO in the country reaching out to me a couple of weeks back, that they now want to join us in this project. So we believe that being focused, and it didn't just happen. We started this way back in 2017, 2018, but this is where we are getting to. So we just have to stay focused and make sure you think big, but in small pieces. Thank you.
Thank you. But I don't know who's inviting up the next panel.
So I'm multitasking a bit. We are moving on to the next part of our side event.
which is a panel discussion on the impact of the Data for Now initiative and the next steps. And I'm lucky to already have the first panelist here, who's been patiently waiting here at the front with us, enjoying, which is Gerhard Stetson, the Director General of Statistics Norway. And in addition, I'd like to call up Philip Cockrell, the statistician for the Data for Development team at the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK, as well as Christopher Maloney, the Program Officer of the Hewlett Foundation. And my name is Vibeke Nielsen. I'm an interregional advisor at the UN Statistics Division and in charge of the Data for Now work from our end. And I have a question for you all. What do you think is the impact of the Data for Now initiative and its future prospects? And in that context, maybe you can all explain how it aligns with your strategic goals. And I'll start with Statistics Norway.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to listen to the previous discussions and very inspirational, I must say. And from our organization's perspective, the Data for Now is very much in line with our own strategy and also with how we work in the international development cooperation that we are a part of. For Norway, the journey towards registers started in the early 60s, and it's a link between that register transformation that started in the 60s in our country and to the current situation where we get, I think in some areas we have daily transaction data on some areas, for example. We also get smart meter data, and of course we experiment with a lot of other privately held data sources. The registers, they are administrative data and collected for an administrative purpose, and privately held data often byproduct of some citizen activity or commercial activity, and often used also by private companies. So the data are already there, and it's a privilege then to be able to actually harvest those data to produce insights, statistics, a common good, free for all. This journey, transformation, is a driver for both technology development and methodology development in our organization. Just one example, information security. I think it's quite obviously that you need to have a strong information security infrastructure if you are taking advantage of all these data. And privately held data are often more granular, with bigger storage challenges, for example. So the whole organizational topic mentioned there earlier is very relevant for us. You know, the partnership between IT people, data science people, and the economists or the social scientists. That's very important that that partnership is has been nurtured in the organization. I think Data for Now is really a good catalyst, and it makes us all learn from each other. And I think in this area we are in the same situation. When I listen to the example from Jordan, for example, I recognize so many things from our own organization. Very much the same challenges, very much the same thinking also when it comes to solutions. So here we can share. And sometimes we will do mistakes, and we can learn from them as well. And of course, when someone does something clever, we can steal with pride. So I think that is a good thing as well. One experience we have from Norway is that, of course, it brings big responsibility when we get all this data in-house. And we need, I think you asked, or someone asked, or perhaps someone else asked about the trust. It was you. We need to interact with the public because privacy is a very important topic. Confidentiality is, of course, in the, it's core for any statistician, but we need to explain to the public. So we have several times been challenged also by the Data Protection Agency in Norway. We have been in the news and met tough critique. And I think we have to just engage in those discussions and try to explain, and sometimes accept that we have to find some compromise, because we need to have that trust from the population. We need to explain that our purpose is to create this common good, but sometimes we have to find the balance towards other important values like privacy, for example. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm glad that you asked about impact because I think, I mean, for me, and I'm sure for everyone in the room, that's why you kind of work hard at your job. You want to have an impact. There might be an SDG that's close to your heart, or there's something you see in your community you think that needs to change, that should change. And we know as data specialists that actually we can amplify the impacts, and data is going to be essential to accelerate the SDGs. So that's why the UK want to invest in this. But in order to have that impact, policy and program decision makers need to use the data. So we want to be creating cultures of data for decision making, which sounds kind of good. We've been talking about data use, but actually it's not. It doesn't just happen because I don't know if there are any data users in the room or not. They may be there in a different conference, in a different city. Sometimes we speak different languages. So we have to actively kind of work with users and create those cultures. So the culture needs to have the available data, accessible, timely, relevant, etc. Needs the users to have the understanding and the incentives to use the data as well. So we see Data for Now fitting within that space. What we've been talking about recently on Data for Now is about outcome and impact storylines, and we've heard some great stories today. And so I think those are really powerful because they explain the impact, but they explain the story, the journey. It's sometimes a long road, and it's not like, often stories are told after the event and you kind of reflect backwards, which is good and helpful. And in a film, you often have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But in life, stories move on, and I think it's a bit messier than that in life. So I think it would be great to tell our stories, to get the users together with the producers at the beginning of the story and say, well, what are our aspirations in this space? How can data potentially be used? Well, there's an opportunity there, or in a year's time, we've got this event, or we've got these decisions. And to really kind of map out our aspirations. Some of those things might be achieved, others might not be, or there might be new things that can add into the story. So that's what I'd really encourage the Data for Now initiative to get involved in. And in the UK, we work to support a range of partners, and we're encouraging partners to support each other, not necessarily working directly together, but to amplify each other's voices and to work to common outcomes. Yeah, and everyone's got their space, but we can actually assist because we're all aiming for the same thing, essentially. So we want to, in the UK, want to break the silos and focus on partnerships to common objectives and focus on data use for accelerating the SDGs. Thanks.
Thank you, Phil, and over to you, Chris.
Thanks, and I'll keep this short. So Chris Maloney with the Hewlett Foundation out in California. I lead a small but mighty grant-making portfolio that we call evidence-informed policymaking. It's about $20 million per year. It includes about 50 organizations, primarily in East and West Africa, but also a few global grantees, including many of Data for Now's partners like GPSDD and SDSM Trends. And why does the Hewlett Foundation have a grant-making portfolio on evidence-informed policymaking in East and West Africa? Well, there's the obvious answer, which is, of course, one would hope that more and better data and evidence leads to better policy outcomes and enhances people's well-being. But I think there's a second and arguably just important and not even more important reason for that. And that is something around the idea that data and evidence are forms of power. Who has data, who uses that data, who makes decisions with that data, those are all exercises of power that directly link to the policymaker and citizen trust dynamic. And so when we use data responsibly, effectively, and inclusively, we are deliberately trying to improve that bond between citizen and policymaker and improve that trust. And I think Data for Now is a great example of working exactly on how to make that happen, whether that's through filling data gaps so that people are seen, whether that's through leveraging the data revolution so that more and better data can be brought to bear. And I think perhaps most importantly, showing the power of collaboration, right? So bringing stakeholders together so that everyone is seen, everyone is included, and very importantly, that this is done to find ways that are safe is quite important. I've been struck particularly with, for example, the examples of mobile network operator data. Very exciting. We all recognize the importance of it. But the trickiness of making it happen, whether it's through the long and drawn out PPPs or regulator models or other types of engagements, this is a tricky one. But this Data for Now provides an example of the type of space that can be created to figure out these ways forward. And so that's really, really important. I think as we look forward, the opportunities only get bigger, but I think it's also important to figure out how we can figure out the specific battles that we want to choose in the space. I've been having a lot of conversations over the past couple of months on AI, and that's great, but what does that actually mean? So how do we get down to that next level of thinking through not just the global standards, but actual applications in practice? And so that's something that certainly I'm trying to wrap my head around. And I think, again, something like Data for Now can play a big part in. Also, I think the other thing I would say is certainly for us at Hewlett, over the past 10 years, we've observed just a tremendous explosion in the number of data and evidence producers that are most proximate to the policymakers in East and West Africa that we care about. And so how do we go even farther down to the most proximate actors and players who are out there to really leverage what they have and what they can see and what they can bring to bear, whether that's through classic citizen-generated initiatives or other producers of data, I think is quite important so that we can really be leveraging the most important data more effectively for the policymakers that we're trying to work with. So I'll just leave it at that to give you a flavor of what we're worried about here. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you through our three panelists in this session on the impact of the Data for Now. We have had a very, very compact program trying to showcase all the variety that we are implementing in the Data for Now. And of course, having 5 core partners and a lot of additional partners and many countries engaged, we wanted to try and show you some of the breadth of it. So thank you for staying with us and following our fast pace in the work. Some of the questions were around whether we cover other data sources, how we do that. So I maybe just quickly wanted to try and summarize how we're thinking, right? You mentioned also the users need to be there from the onset. That is a key element of the Data for Now. It's the countries that decide, the statistics offices together with the users in country, decide on the priorities, and then we try and identify how we can fill these gaps with different innovation, data sources, data methods, tools, etc. And you've just seen 3 examples today. We have many other examples in case you're interested, and we're working on putting together more of these impact stories so that more of you can see. Partnerships was mentioned, that's very important. You've seen it here. There are many other partners involved, and we're happy to bring in many other partners as well. So if you are a potential partner, as Stefan was saying in the beginning, please join us and engage with us. We want to bring the right people together where we can. And then the innovation, right? Keep working on the innovation, seeing how we can link up with other communities as well. I think in the course of this week, I've heard linkages with governance. I've heard linkages with the kind of IT developments and linkages with other things so that we can kind of bring the data and statistics world into that and don't stay isolated as we maybe often have had a tendency to do. But in all of this, in all the innovation, we also need to make sure that we stay sustainable, that what we're doing remains sustainable. And I think, again, these examples that we've heard today with all the ownership that is there and the strong willingness to keep it going is really key to what we're doing, that we don't just pilot something and then it's gone, but that it remains and we keep staying and engaging so that the results remain as well. I think moving forward, again, happy working with all of you. We all are, all the 5 partners or partners. So I think I won't take a lot more time. I'll just thank all of you for coming, thanking all the speakers also for speaking with us, sharing your experiences, and also all of us who were co-leading and co-managing the event. And also thanks a lot to the Norwegian Mission for hosting us, for making this event so good. And I see there's a little bit of food, or quite a lot of food left actually. So grab some food on the way out and see you around. Thank you so much. Thank you.